In this video, I make a mallet. A mallet is defined as a hammer with a large, usually wooden head, used especially for hitting a chisel. And because I strive to portray myself as a cool and fancy woodworker who uses fancy tools, I obviously need a mallet for all my chisel work. I started by cutting down some walnut and maple to half a hot dog in width and a hot dog in length. Then I set my table saw miter gauge to cut an angle that left the piece of wood with an angle similar to a very gradual slope, or a very steep cliff, depending on how you look at it. While I continue to cut up bits of wood in several nasty ways, allow me to address the wrapping on my finger, though as a result of the story I may be lampooned. I was using a new saw, a Japanese pool saw, and my focus became untuned, resulting in my finger nearly being pruned. I naturally assumed that I would shortly be entombed as a result of my mortal flesh wound. Luckily, though, I was not doomed, my flesh not totally consumed, and I escaped with a minor flesh wound. And though the blood from my finger bloomed, swiftly was the wound cocooned in gauze, and my work I resumed. Here you can see me gluing together the head of the mallet, and then I used a chisel to clean out the glue that had squeezed out inside. Not necessarily the proper way to use a chisel, but that's the only way I can find to practically use my chisels. Now, on to the making of the handle. I already had some thin bits of walnut and maple, but the piece of paduak I had was like my skull, very thick, so I used the table saw to fix that problem. Fix the wood, not my skull. Just a quick side story, I was working on recording this here voiceover, and the quality was just terrible. I'm not saying that the quality now is phenomenal, but trust me, it is way better than what was going on just a bit ago. I couldn't figure out what was wrong, and spent nearly an hour moving things around and changing location and getting mighty frustrated, until I finally figured out that I didn't have the microphone plugged into my computer. Scoundrel that I am. By use of my mighty miter saw, I then cut all the pieces to the same length and arranged them in a pattern that to me seemed like kind of a worldly, kind of otherworldly manner in which to arrange them. And then I used my fancy mustard bottle to squirt some glue all over them. Some people buy fancy glue brushes and rollers and tectonic plates and things just to spread glue on their workpieces. But I found that all you really need is just a pair of scissors. After using the scissors to evenly spread the glue, I then glued them up in a mighty sandwich of sorts. I really like sandwiches, especially when I don't have to make them. But I still get to eat them. Here's a quote from Emily Dickinson. "I know nothing in the world that has as much power as a word. Sometimes I write one, and I look at it until it begins to shine. Well, tell me, have you seen the power of a broom?" And yes, I am wearing safety glasses, just in case someone that is not my mom, but is still concerned for my general well-being happens to watch this video. Just like when some people's fingers are so fantastically large that they can't fit into a regular pair of gloves, this handle was too big to fit in the hole that it had been designed for. So I ran it through the planer a couple times to get it to the right thickness, and then it fit in like a glove. My love. I then used my doorknob to cut off the ends of the handle and make them square and flat. After that, I tried to be some sort of fancy samurai guy and used a combination square and a pen and pretended to be making precise and calculated marks and measurements, but ended up just drawing some random lines and hoping for the best. Then I went and chopped it up on the scroll saw. Take note of these tiny little pieces I cut off. They look like mini cutting boards or something. Plug it in! After plugging it in, I asserted total dominance over the head of the mallet by cutting it like 20 times in a row, just to show what a big man I was. I then decided to draw a line to best represent the change in my feelings towards rocks over time. And then I realized that my feelings towards rocks have not changed at all in 16 years of my life. So, drenched in shame and embarrassment, I tried my best to destroy all evidence of me making this silly chart. So I cut it up on the scroll saw. I'm not entirely sure what I should be saying for this portion of the voiceover. You'll just see me sand the handle and then add a round over to it. So I'll say that crock you see in the background has been in the background of almost every shot. I think there are 2 shots in this video that don't include the crock.
Oh, you beaut! Woohoo!
Buckle up, because I'm about to recount a story that includes all sorts of emotions and an unaccountable ending. The clip that you are about to see in some 30 seconds time, where I glue together the mallet, I thought had been lost forever. Here's how it went. I was recording it on my phone, as I do, and was going about my business putting together the mallet. When I was done, I went back to the phone to turn off the video, only to find that my phone had shut off. This filled me with anger, because I know from past experience that this usually occurs when the battery is completely empty or the storage is completely full. Regardless of which it was, I knew that usually when this happens, the video file that was being recorded ends up disappearing and being vanquished for all eternity. I take a bit of pride in being a man of, that is, a boy of composure. I try my best to hold my composure regardless of the situation. But when I figured out the most important clip of the whole video was gone, I uttered a very mild oath of displeasure and proceeded to wander around the shop for 5 minutes, regretting all the decisions in my life that had led me to this very tragic point. I even considered scrapping the whole project, even though it was basically done at this point. After a while, I regained my composure and continued in my life. I edited the whole video and proceeded to do other things. But then, after some 2 days had passed, the clip randomly showed up on my phone. I lost all my composure, and my cry of excitement paired with a leap of joy was similar to that of a young man reunited with his lady love after several days of absence. It was a delightful time indeed. A common complaint among cool woodworkers like me, sarcasm, is how long it takes to sand things. I actually kind of enjoy the sanding process, and even get just a little bit carried away with it sometimes. And since we are sanding, I thought I would include a sand quote. Individually, every grain of sand brushing against my hands represents a story, an experience, and a block for me to build upon for the next generations. That's Raquel Capetta. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, feel free to do all sorts of various things. And even if you didn't enjoy the video, I still give you permission to do all sorts of various things. I'm also on Instagram, linked down below if Instagram is your thing. I think I also might have Facebook, but that is so confusing and it's more of a convoluted mess. Thanks for watching. Enjoy these final shots of the finished mallet. Oh, I forgot about this part. Oh, yeah. Oh, smacky wacky. Look at that. Strike that thing. Look at that. So brooms have power and mallets have power. Go wild. You might be thinking, oh, that mallet, it's so beautiful. Too beautiful to use. Will you ever even use it? Yes. Oh, yes, I will use it. I will use it more than you will ever imagine. Cheers. Thanks for watching to the very end of the video. See ya.